Okay, this is May 4th, 2022. This is episode 22. And what I'm doing here is I'm going to add some more light body filler to this right front fender that I repaired, because this fender here, it's undamaged, has a little more curve right here. It's flat in this section, but it has a little more curve in that section. This one has the flatness right here, but not as much curve up in here. So I'm going to add some. This is still a little bit low over here, so I'll add some and then kind of work my way over here and kind of contour it like that. And that will be one step closer to being done. This one here looks like it might be a little bit low in this area, but so I'll probably just add a little bit right in here and try to get that. That's just a flat. This up here is essentially supposed to be just flat. So, all right, here we go. All right, I've got this patch panel that's gonna go in right there. Got it all trimmed up and got some weld through primer on it. My primer has a little bit of a drip coming out of the nozzle, but anyway, fixing to weld that up, get it mocked up, and then ready to weld. All right, and there it is. Got those little magnets holding it in place and getting ready to weld. And there's my copper backer I'll be using, so should go pretty well. All right, here it is welded up. Went pretty well. Didn't really have any blow throughs anywhere. And that took about 10 minutes. So I'm getting ready to grind it down. I started to weld in the holes that are there from the diamond plate that was installed by somebody, but decided that I didn't really need to do that because I was going to end up having to fiberglass these areas with the resin and cloth anyhow. So obviously I'll grind those down, but basically I'll just bring a piece of cloth all the way across here and apply the resin, let it set up, and then sand it back, and then it'll be ready for regular filler, or the short strand fiberglass. So, all right, I'm gonna grind these welds down. All right, so here it is. It's got the fiberglass cloth on there. Just cut like a 6-inch strip for that one. Actually, that's 10-inch, about 10 inches long. 6-inch for this one here, and I guess it was probably about 2 inches wide. Just wide enough to fully cover the seam, and apply some fiberglass resin. And I'll let that sit overnight, and then come back and sand it and put some short strand fiberglass over it, and that'll be done, at least before I start finessing the whole Jeep for getting it ready for paint. But and then the back side, back here, of course it's already got primer on it, but this ultimately in here, all of the underbody is going to be undercoated and so forth, so anything that might try to get through the seam on that side of it will be blocked by the undercoating. So I hadn't shown you this yet, I don't think. This is after I've applied the rust reformer and the rust encapsulator. So it's all dry now, and I can go forward with putting my rear floor section in now. And like I said, I've got this closed up with a little patch I welded in. Got my nut here welded. That's for the body mount, and then here, this one is for the seat. So yeah, ready to start final trimming that piece and getting ready to weld it in. All right, here we go. I've got this ground down, and that weld will hold. It's not pretty, but again, not trying to win a beauty contest, but as a matter of my own policy now, for lack of better words, what I am going to do on any time I weld something like this, because I know there's pinholes and I could spend more time doing it, running another set of stitch welds across there and then grind it again and all that. Not gonna do that. So I'm gonna do what I just now did there, grind it back, and then this is going to get a resin and cloth fiberglass treatment, because that will cover any pinholes or anything that's there, and regular short strand fiberglass and body filler is going to go over it ultimately anyway. So it's going to add, the weld itself is holding the panel, and then the fiberglass is sealing the panel, and then the rest of the filler is finessing the panel. So that's kind of my becoming my procedure, I think, since I know my welds are not as clean as they could or should be, but hey, it works, it'll work. So got these ground down too, and obviously, like I mentioned before, this is all going to have just a cloth and layer of, you know, that resin fiberglass to close all that up as well. So just like I did over there on the weld seams, to close them up with that fiberglass, that's going to be what I do from here on out, because I think it's going to add that much more strength and water integrity. So all right, now I am moving on to actually I'm gonna go ahead and clean that panel and apply the fiberglass to it. Here we go. I got this rear section of the floor pan in, and I did the spot weld thing back here, you know, after having punched holes in the flange of the panel. And that's what these are. So I've got several of them down through there. Got one here at the back too. There's another one. There's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And obviously these holes that are peeking through right there, that's going to be all fixed, fiberglassed and whatnot. But so that's in. And of course I welded the frame support, or the floor support there, and it looks like my body mount lines up pretty good. Yep. So the body mount that'll bolt into that there. This right here is the that right there, I should say, and on the other side that's the roll bar. So I had to do one more thing before I stop for the day, and mentioned earlier that I was going to just like I did the weld seam here, put the fiberglass resin. It's fiberglass resin that you mix with an activator and the cloth. You know, I was going to put that over top of the welds and these little holes that held on the diamond plate, plus the little places that it was rusted. You know, rather than try to fill all those holes with weld and cut this out and weld that, it's just, you know, this one needed it because the rust was bad enough that, hey, just do a panel. This here, fiberglass resin, that'll harden overnight. I'll sand it, and then I'll hit it with the short strand fiberglass as well as the seam here. And, you know, from there, it's just finessing, you know, the body with some light filler. And then the backside, again, like everything else, will be undercoated. I don't anticipate this ever having an issue. Again, when this fiberglass cloth and resin dries, it is extremely strong. I mean, it's practically as strong as a weld is. So, and again, once I'm done welding back here, this piece in, I'm going to do the same thing, the cloth and fiberglass resin on the seam there. I'm just wanting to double make sure that everything is going to be nice and watertight, so don't have any issues in the future. So, all right, that officially concludes episode 22. See you guys next time. Then up here, I've got the portion of the floor here welded in, and the welds ground back. Didn't really have any burn through. Well, I had one that was about, I think it was about right in here. So usually when I have a burn through, what I end up doing, I've learned, is to weld a little bit around where the burn through is, and then just kind of bridge it over until I get a good weld on it. So so here, like I mentioned yesterday, this was a mistake that I made, because originally when I cut this floor out, I had to cut this piece right here separately to try to deal with the portion that was up underneath the waterfall panel. So I had forgotten that I cut that out separately, and so when I cut this replacement panel, I did it based on the original, the first piece that I'd cut out. So not a big deal. I still have the other part of this panel that I can, you know, cut out and make fit into there. So that's the next step, is to get that in there. But all my holes lined up here, you know, so everything is where it needs to be. That's a drain hole right there. So and then of course the driver panel will pick up where this one's leaving off and kind of overlap, come up to this seam here, hopefully. Hopefully it'll come up to that seam. If it's not, then I'll have to do some customizing. But yeah, that's in. So the next step, like I said, is to do this one here, and then I'll do the normal fiberglass and cloth treatment for the weld seam, so I know no water's going to get in there or anything. And of course this is all going to be kind of it's going to have a bed coating, Line X, or I don't know, 415 or something like that, over top of that as well. So, and then, you know, along this part here where it attached to this panel, this is all going to be seam sealed with a automotive seam sealer. And then, you know, back there, once I get the waterfall panel welded in, the whole floor will be seam sealed all the way around, all the way over to there and up and so forth, as well as coated with the bed liner. And I don't anticipate any water getting in or any rust issues happening in the future. So that's the goal. All right, catch you guys next time. Figured I'd introduce myself. So I've done a restoration on a 66 Chevy C10 before with my buddy Claude, and everything that we did on that truck, just about everything that we did, was a learning experience for me, and I could not have done my truck without him. So really, I'm just using the skills that I learned from him to do this Jeep, and that I remember learning from him. And it's a lot of fun. It's not really too difficult to do. If anybody can think through the process and do the same thing that I'm doing, really. It more has to do with, I think, just the motivation and the willingness to take a risk that you maybe can't do it or something, or you mess up. But even when you mess up, you figure out how to fix problems. You know, when there's a will, there's a way. So anyway, I thought I'd introduce myself. And again, if you like the videos that I'm doing, give me a thumbs up. If there's any comments or questions that you have, then please feel free to ask. So we're all here to learn together. All right, thanks for watching.